just going to go over the house wrap approach here. I just submitted your assignments back. Some people did well and others poorly. Just want to go through, make sure that we're good for our test. One thing when we did this example in class, I asked you to tell me the material, also tell me what barrier is being used there. So if you can see right at the top of the assignment here, it says draw in and then label. So you need to draw in, so sketch in the drawing of where the materials are going, and then label everything. Not everybody did that. I want to see that. I want to see where things need to be sealed, where things need to overlap. So trying to be very clear with your lines was important. I went over on the board. I suggested people take a picture of it. Some people obviously did, and then others didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and start by working through this. Maybe I'll start by following the order here. I'll start off with foundation moisture barrier. So we'll label that as a color. Maybe we'll go with green for that. So foundation moisture barrier, it starts from grade. Right? If I'm putting on pieces, I'd have a 36-inch piece, then I'd have to overlap. The top piece always goes on first, and then from there I'd have to put the bottom piece on second, and then it would get nailed on with more than likely concrete nails. So that's the green color there. Just going to put an arrow to that, referring to it as the foundation moisture barrier. And the material, I'd use tar paper. So some people on their assignments brought the moisture barrier all the way to the top of the foundation, which is not a major problem, depending on the material you're using. As long as the material is breathable, you can do that. If it's not breathable, it could be an issue. So as long as there's a way for air to circulate through the floor system, dry this area out between the wall and the foundation, then it's not an issue. I just wanted to make everybody realize that the moisture barrier doesn't have to go beyond grade. So just a little bit above grade is good enough. The bat insulation. A lot of people miss the bat insulation. So you need bat insulation in the basement. So we'll put that up. You should be learning about that this week. Foundations, reading through the notes and looking through the PowerPoints. That there's a couple different options. There's majority coverage, which is all the way down, partial coverage, which is 8 inches up, and then there's also something that's on longer code, is 2 feet up. So here I have my insulation. I'll put insulation in this wall as well. So that's the typical symbol for insulation. Put some in the attic as well. Should be a styro vent here as well. Vent. To allow airflow to get in there. Never want the insulation touching the plywood, otherwise it'll heat up the plywood, which then causes ice damming. So we want air to be able to flow through there. So just while we're talking about it. Then the last spot will be the hard part, right, is insulating the floor system between the floor joists. So that insulation should stop flush with the basement wall. Right, we don't want to stop it further back. If we stop it further back, there's potential for air coming through on an angle. So you want that insulation to stop flush. You don't want to go beyond, because we have to put vapor barrier in front of this insulation. That vapor barrier has to tie into the vapor barrier below. So it needs to be continuous. So we can't have the insulation come all the way to here and then just stop the vapor barrier wherever we like, because then there's air going through the underside. You then have to wrap your plastic all the way around, which is just too much work. So that's good so far. I'll just put that as red. Bat insulation. 6 mil vapor barrier. Maybe we'll go with a blue for that. So this is the house wrap approach. So the vapor barrier on the inside of the ceiling I can draw that line there, so I need vapor barrier there. The sealing for house wrap and for sealed poly approach is going to be air and vapor, both of them. Typically it's 6 mil poly. I'll also have to draw another line afterwards to represent the air. Right now that blue line is representing my vapor barrier. I'm going to put an arrow to it, stating that that's 6 mil poly. And it's acting as vapor and air. It's doing both. And then there'd have to be an overlap here. So we have to have that house wrap. So let's maybe just do that house wrap first. See if yellow will show up here for air. Can you see that? I guess so. So it should be a little piece of Tyvek through the top plate here. So it's going to go up 90 degrees here, across, and just flap like that for now. Then the Tyvek will tuck underneath that afterwards. So that will be, again, the continuation of the air barrier coming down. And that air barrier would then seal onto the wall here. So, a little arrow, Tyvek, sealed to concrete. And what ends up happening is concrete is air in basement. So you basically have to be able to draw a line all the way through whenever you're talking about barriers, right? So it has to start at the footing. Foundation is the air. Then it has to be continuous, no break. So it's sealed here, continuous. And then from there, there's a little flap of Tyvek will then be sealed here as well. So Tyvek sealed. And then it's continuous, so then we'd have to have a yellow membrane take over from there as well. It's the same membrane, but it's just acting as two things. So it's 6 mil poly that's being used as an air and a vapor. So if you look from the footing, the foundation is the air barrier. So continuous all the way up, gets sealed, continuous all the way up, gets sealed, changes to a different product, gets sealed, changes to a different product. But it's continuous, 100% continuous, the entire way around the building. And it seals to the ground basically. So that's the air. Maybe we'll put the 6 mil poly on the inside wall there now. So 6 mil poly that I'm here, I'm going to overlap. But because it's only vapor barrier, it doesn't have to be sealed. It just has to be continuous, meaning, again, pencil all the way around, continuous. So that gets sealed or touches the plywood under tension, under compression. So whenever you install your drywall, that'll press down. So that's vapor only, which would be 6 mil poly. So that's vapor and air, and then the vapor's on the inside now. Vapor barrier's on the inside, air's on the outside. Okay, so that seals to the plywood. Then I need another little piece of plastic that goes here like that. That's vapor only. So that's continuous, right? Blue, continuous. Seals to plywood, then plywood again takes over. So plywood is part of the barrier. And then from there we would overlap here and take that down to the basement. So both of these products could be the same. Vapor, but we use a smart vapor retarder just to allow any moisture to come out, right? If we put vapor barrier here, that's going to trap moisture in that cavity, and if there's any buildup, it won't be able to leave. It can't go through the foundation wall because it's fairly tight for diffusion. So if we have a smart vapor retarder, humidity gets up to a certain level, it'll allow it to release it into the basin, which is very important in the summertime. So again, if we follow that vapor barrier, it's continuous. It has to be continuous around the building. So sealing doesn't have to be sealed though. The piece of Tyvek has to seal to the 6 mil poly on the ceiling. So the Tyvek flap that goes between the two top plates will go like that and curl up That has to be sealed because that's the air. Air has to be sealed, vapor doesn't. So this piece of 6 mil here does not have to seal to the 6 mil for the sealing, but it has to be continuous, has to overlap. If you look at your vapor there, the blue line, so that's one way of checking. It's making sure there is a continuous line going through your building, and then again, be under pressure here from drywall and flooring to seal off to a certain degree. So we have that done. Foundation damp proofing. Maybe we'll go with a black for that. Damp proofing just above grade, probably 3 inches. It's going to come down. It's going to curl a little bit here, just because usually if it's rolled on or tarred on, it'd be done that way. There should be a drainage layer there as well. So maybe tar. I'm not going to bother with the drainage layer, it's not there, but it would be in front. Right? Drainage layer goes in front of the damp proofing to protect, so when you backfill, you're not damaging your damp proofing. Damp proofing is supposed to stop the water to come in. Drainage layer protects the damp proofing and allows the water to flow quickly down to the drain tile. So forged drain tile covered with gravel. Okay, so that's where you want the water to get into that area. From there it'll go into a sump pit and pumped out of the house. Okay. We could also have a moisture barrier underneath the slab. So it might come through here. So before pouring that slab, piece of plastic underneath. So a little arrow here, moisture barrier. Good idea. There's usually gravel there that acts as a capillary break, but so does the poly. Stops moisture from getting in the slab. Stops the radon gas. So any joints on that plastic should be sealed to stop that gas from coming through. So exterior wall moisture barrier is the only thing we have left. So you have a different color blue here. So that is basically the same product. What came from here, the yellow and the blue are the same product. Same product, different barriers. The blue is basically a moisture barrier, which stops rain and snow from getting into the wall. The yellow represents the air. So the Tyvek house wrap is being used for both. So just put a little arrow here. So Tyvek is the product, and it's the moisture and air barrier. Okay. I think I've labeled everything. That's labeled. Tyvek sealed, and I put a bead there to kind of show that that's being sealed. The vapor doesn't have to be sealed. So we have a seal here. We have a seal here, so showing it with a dot. And there's a seal here as well. So the yellow Tyvek would come in, staple up like that, vertical, through the plates, staple up, leave acoustic caulking, and then the 6 mil poly would then get embedded into that, sealing the sealing poly to the Tyvek between the plates, making it continuous. And that's good. And that should be it. So the key is, whenever you're done, take a pencil or pen and try to follow the vapor barrier. Is it continuous? So it kind of seals the plywood, continuous, curls onto the floor, and then the floor becomes somewhat of a vapor, but we do have vapor barrier under there as well. Okay. And if you follow the air, the yellow, sealed to the plates, down around, seals to the concrete, and then the concrete becomes the air. Okay. We have damp proofing to grade, moisture barrier to grade, insulation and no floor. Like I said, a lot of people struggle with that flush to the basement wall. Don't forget the vapor barrier. Okay. I guess that's it. Hopefully this helps. If you have any other questions, maybe just shoot me an email and I can help you out.